If you go out and chase butterflies or chase bees, they're going to run from you, right? If you're in this chasey energy, they're going to run from you. But if you instead create a beautiful garden, you're going to attract them to you. So whenever we're super attached to the outcome, it almost pushes away what it is that we want to manifest. So it's important to know what you want, know you're worthy of having it, which are, like the solution to the first two mistakes that were mentioned. But then we also need to detach from the outcome. Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month or Latine Heritage Month, whatever you call it. Happy month of the cultura from September 15th until October 15th. It is the month where we celebrate our culture. So a lot of inquiries that come in for my colleagues and myself. It's definitely a time when our culture tends to get a little bit more attention. There's more features, more things like that. So a happy month to you all. And last week we talked all about how to manifest. And I shared my 4-step manifestation / magnetic framework. And this week, I thought we could talk about 5 common mistakes I see when it comes to manifesting and things to avoid. I've seen these with myself in my own life experience, but also with some of my clients. And if you have been looking to manifest maybe a new job or a business or a partner or something in the material world, like a new apartment or a car, and it hasn't manifested, I want you to listen to this episode and try to take note as to which of these resonates with you. And honestly, maybe you're doing 1, 2, or 3 of these. I know that at any given time, I'm also falling victim to these mistakes just because we are all human. But this is in no specific order. This isn't like the top mistake, but I did just number them for simplicity purposes and just so that it's easier for you to follow along. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. The first mistake that I noted was when we are looking to manifest and it hasn't actually manifested, it hasn't come into fruition, it hasn't come into reality. It could be because we are lacking clarity. What do I mean by lacking clarity? Pretty much you are either being really vague about what it is that you want, or you're just unclear. Another thing is like you may be giving the universe or source or your higher self or God, whatever word you want to use, you may be giving, I'm just going to use the word the universe, but feel free to fit in whatever word resonates with you. You may be giving it mixed signals. So you may be saying, oh, I want this one thing, but yet you're taking action towards another. Or maybe you're like, oh, I just want to be happier. But like, what would being happier look like for you, right? How can you take the time to really sit down and sit with what you want? And I think the reason this is so hard for us as humans is because we've constantly been told what it is that we want. And from society and from cultures and from our family, we've constantly been told like, make sure you go to college, make sure you get a well-paying job, make sure you meet a partner and have kids. And it's like, we've always been told what it is that we want, but how much time are we actually spending to sit with ourselves and see what it is that we really want? Because a lot of times we are unclear, right? We're like, I just want to be happier, but what does happier look like for you? Because happiness for one person is very different than happiness to another person. Some people would hate to be a stay-at-home mom. And for other people, they'd be like, this is the most fulfilling job ever, right? So it's about finding out what it is that you desire. What is it that you want? And the way that you can do this is by meditating, by journaling, by spending time alone, spending time in nature. I would recommend going back to listen to the podcast episode that's all about how to get in touch with your intuition. But it really isn't that complicated. You don't have to sit there and do anything crazy. It's just about spending time with yourself. Because if we're constantly surrounded by other people, we're constantly hearing their own thoughts and opinions. I want you to really take time to get to know you, because that's what's going to give you a lot more clarity on what it is that you want. So I had to also mention, sometimes we say we want one thing and then we're acting in a different way. So I'm going to share an example from when I was in the tech industry. I remember being in the tech industry. I was there for 8 years. And I want to say by year 2 or 3, I knew I didn't want to be there. I knew, and it wasn't even just, I don't want to be at this job. I don't want to be at this company or do this type of job. I already knew that the industry wasn't for me, because I had already worked at different companies in slightly different positions. It wasn't that. It was that I didn't want to be there anymore. And I knew this. I knew this. I knew this was what I wanted. Yet, anytime a promotion would come up, or anytime a new job would come up and it would be super similar, I would go and I would apply. So I was almost like telling the universe, like, I don't want this, but yet I'm taking all this action to keep it. It's almost like, let's say we are like, I don't want any more vanilla ice cream, but we keep eating the vanilla ice cream. Like, we kind of have to decide what it is that we want and then allow our actions to follow. So one of the points later on is about action, but having clarity on what it is that you want is really important. And I want to use a dating example here, because I think when a lot of people be clear about what it is you want to manifest, sometimes we hear it from this sense of, think about the color that you want your door to be, or think about the characteristics that you want your partner to have. And yes, that can sound like being clear, but I want you to be clear, but I also want you to be open to possibilities. So when I say be clear, it would be like, I know that I want to manifest a house, or I know that I want to manifest a client, or I know that I want to manifest a speaking engagement, or I know that I want to manifest my dream partner. But being open as to how it how it manifests, and exactly like, and let the details be flexible. Because a perfect example, I think I'm going to use dating, as I had just mentioned. With dating, there can be so many people that get caught up in, okay, well, I need my partner to be 6 foot, and I need them to be this, and I need them to be that. And it's like, yeah, that's clear, but that's also kind of boxing you in. And like, what if your dream partner is from a different background? What if your dream partner is 4 inches taller than you, but isn't 6 feet? Right? Like, there's so many good people out there that may not fit that criteria that you're thinking. So I want you to be clear about what you want, but I also want you to be open and flexible with it. So what I mean about be clear about what you want and how to avoid the mistake of lacking clarity, it would be more like, if you're telling yourself you want to start dating, but as soon as somebody asks you out on coffee, you're like, no. Okay, those are conflicting things, right? So allow yourself to be clear about what it is that you want, but do your best not to box yourself in. Because I mean, I've had clients who talk about manifesting a partner, and they're like, well, they have to be 6 foot, they have to have this color eyes, they have to do this, they have to be in this line of work. And I mean, if we are really looking at the pool of people available to you, it's pretty small. And again, like, sometimes we don't even know exactly what we want, and the universe will come and surprise us. Like, I want to say the last few relationships that I have had were nothing like what my ideal written version was of the person, at least not physically. Like, characteristically, of course, you're allowed to have your standards, right? Like, the person has to have a growth mindset, they have to be kind. Like, yes, please include those regulations. But what I'm saying is, don't box yourself into like, okay, it has to be a house that has, exactly this color door. Like, you can paint the freaking door, right? So don't get caught up on little details. Just be clear about what it is that you want and why it is that you want it. What is it about that you want? Okay, so that's mistake number one, which is lacking clarity and giving the universe different ideas of what you want. The next mistake is having limiting beliefs and worthiness issues. So maybe you know what you want to manifest, but maybe deep down you don't believe that you deserve it, or you don't believe that it's possible, or you don't believe that you are worthy of having that. And what happens is that whenever you have these beliefs deep down, you're almost pushing away this manifestation instead of calling it in, because the way that you feel about yourself and your abilities dictates your life. If you know that you want to manifest a business or manifest a speaking opportunity, if you know that you want to manifest a business or a client or a speaking opportunity, but deep down you're like, but I don't feel ready. I don't know if I can actually do it. I don't know if I'm ready to go on stage. Well, you are actually blocking that manifestation from happening because of that limiting belief, because you don't feel that you are worthy of getting up on that stage. I actually had a client who has a coaching business, and somebody reached out to her about working with her. And my client said to me, I had somebody reach out, but I just don't feel like I'm ready. So I didn't follow up. Well, okay, that was a perfect example of having a limiting belief. If you weren't ready, the client would have never reached out to you. If you weren't ready for a job opportunity, you wouldn't have had the job offer. If you weren't worthy of a specific partner, they wouldn't have asked you on a date. So working on your limiting beliefs and your worthiness overall, this is a major, major manifestation blocker. This is why most manifestations don't come into fruition. Like maybe you know what you want, so you don't lack clarity, which was mistake number one, lacking clarity. Maybe you know what you want, but you deep down do not feel worthy of it. So you never ask for it. You never tell anybody what you want to manifest, which like sometimes telling people what you want to manifest is really helpful, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to be on more podcasts. And then maybe the person that you're telling is like, oh, my friend's actually looking for podcast guests. So telling people what it is that you want to call into your life actually allows people to help you call things into your life. But if you have a limiting belief that you are not ready to be a podcast guest, or that you are not ready to go on stage, or that you are not ready to be in a relationship, you are not going to call in that manifestation. So the first thing to check isn't even like, okay, what's happening outside of me? It's like, what's happening inside of me? And I would say that the first two mistakes are something that's totally internal, right? Lacking clarity and having these limiting beliefs or feeling unworthy. Many times we hear that people are afraid of failure. And that one's such a common one. Like, oh my gosh, what if I do it, but what if I fail? But another one, the opposite end of that spectrum, is that people are also afraid of success. And this is a form of limiting belief. A lot of people are afraid of having success, or maybe they don't feel like they deserve success. So far, we have covered the first two mistakes, which are lacking clarity, and the second is limiting belief / worthiness. If this podcast resonates with you, I invite you to my free webinar happening on Monday, October 21st at 5 o'clock Pacific time. This webinar is all about how to be magnetic. You are going to learn how I've helped my clients manifest opportunities, clients, and community by using my framework. You're going to learn how to go from hustling to attracting using feminine energy. You're going to learn how to make decisions for your life and for your business by listening to your intuition rather than looking for answers outside of you. You're also going to learn why you are worthy of your wildest dreams and biggest goals. This is for you if you don't have a problem taking action, you actually are taking a lot of action, and you lean more hustly, and you're ready to let things be a little bit easier. You're still willing to show up. You're still willing to take action, but you don't want to be in hustle anymore. You don't want to be in chasey energy anymore. This is also for you if you want to attract ideal clients and opportunities without having to slide into people's DMs. You really don't want to feel salesy. You want it to feel abundant and like people are drawn to you, like opportunities are drawn to you. This is for you if you've been trying anything and everything, but you want to be intentional with your actions. You don't just want to be busy. You want to be really intentional. My clients have manifested a pregnancy, new job opportunities, speaking engagements, new businesses through using some of the tools that I'm going to teach you during this free webinar. At the end of the webinar, we're actually opening the doors for my mastermind called Magnetic Mastermind. So a lot of you have been sliding into my DMs asking me, when are you opening doors again? We are opening doors right after the webinar on Monday, October 21st. There will be a 48-hour bonus. So if you know that you want to join the program, submit your application within the first 48 hours because I don't want you to miss the bonus and I cannot wait to work with you. You can register by going down below to the show notes and the link is there for the webinar. I can't wait to see you there. Mistake number 3 when it comes to manifestation is attachment to the outcome. What in the world does this mean? You might be very attached to the outcome of what it is that you want to manifest. So by being overly attached to like how this is going to happen or when it's going to happen, the manifestation you're almost like clinging onto it, which makes it be pushed away from you. So if you're constantly obsessing over whether or not something's happening or not happening, you're almost blocking the flow of letting it come to you. So when we are attached to the outcome or hyper fixated on getting the result, that puts us in chasey energy. And I want you to think about like what would happen if you were actually, I saw a post that encompasses this perfectly. It talks about how like if you go out and chase butterflies or chase bees, they're going to run from you, right? If you're in this chasey energy, they're going to run from you. But if you instead create a beautiful garden, you're going to attract them to you. So whenever we're super attached to the outcome, it almost pushes away what it is that we want to manifest. So it's important to know what you want, know you're worthy of having it, which are, like the solution to the first 2 mistakes that were mentioned. But then we also need to detach from the outcome. So the third mistake is attachment to the outcome, but the solution is detach from the outcome or surrender to the outcome. How can you trust that the universe has a perfect timeline and that things are going to unfold in the best way possible? And the thing is that whenever you are focused on yourself and creating your beautiful garden and knowing that you're worthy and curating your garden in the way that you desire it and knowing you're worthy of having this beautiful garden that attracts the butterflies and the bees to the garden, that is when they are going to come. So the best way to detach from the outcome is by knowing that you want something, but not hyperfixating on it. So it would be something along the lines of, I would love a client this month, but I understand that the client's going to come when the client is going to come. Or I would love to land a speaking engagement and I trust that the universe has my back. I trust that it's all going to work out in the perfect time. And if it doesn't happen specifically in this month, I'm going to keep trying. Rather than if it doesn't happen this month, then I give up on this manifestation. Because a lot of times it's just a timing thing and we don't know what timeline things are going to happen in. I've talked many times about when I was in tech and I was all urgent to leave tech. But had I left tech before, I would have been struggling because it required all of the things to fall into place that fell into place for me to be able to leave tech the way that I did. It was so seamless. I could not have planned that. And this is what I mean, with the point number 1 that I had made about be clear, but be open. Be open to how you let things happen. I also talked about this on the last episode. Your job is to be clear on what you want and why you want it, not how it's going to come or when it's going to come. And this third point encompasses that. The fourth mistake is not taking action. So I think a lot of times people think of manifestation as like, oh my gosh, you're just going to sit there and like create a vision board and think about what you want and meditate and use your crystals and like burn Palo Santo and blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, you can do all that, but manifestation doesn't work unless you take action as well. And it's not just taking any action, it's taking inspired action, aligned action, action that is helping you to get to your goal. So the mistake is that a lot of people, they just believe that manifestation is purely about thoughts and intentions without any action, but manifestation works in tandem and together with taking aligned and inspired action towards your goal. Remember when I was first talking about like knowing I wanted to leave tech, but yet I was taking action in the opposite way? It was not aligned action. I was applying to jobs in the same industry when I knew I wanted to leave the industry. So it's like, how can you help the universe out? Or like, let's say that you know that you want to start dating and you want to be very intentional about it. A form of taking inspired action would be maybe downloading dating apps or going to meetups or going out to do things where you're actually going to meet people rather than just staying at home all day and just saying, oh yeah, my like dream partner is going to come and show up on my doorstep. So you do have to take action, but you have to take action that's in alignment with what it is that you want. The fifth mistake people make is that they begin to focus on lack instead of focusing on abundance. So many people focus on the absence of what they want. And what we focus on grows and expands, right? So if you are focused on what you do not have, you're going to keep creating what you don't have because the brain kind of works like this. It's like, see, I told you I wasn't worthy of getting a promotion because look, I haven't gotten one yet. And you're focusing on the lack of the manifestation instead of focusing on abundance. Or maybe like, see, I knew I couldn't get a speaking engagement because I haven't landed one yet. So whenever we are focusing on not having, we're almost reinforcing and like finding evidence of the lack. And the truth is, you could convince your brain of anything. You could convince your brain of anything that you want. So why not convince it of a thought process that's actually going to be supportive? So the solution here is to shift your focus from what's missing to what you already have and are grateful for. So like really practicing the feeling of gratitude is going to allow you to receive the thing that you are desiring. And you're like, okay, Erica, but the point of this is to manifest something that I don't already have. Yeah, but the way we manifest something that we don't already have is by being grateful for what we do have. So let's say that you want to manifest a speaking engagement and you haven't landed a speaking engagement yet, but you are taking inspired action. You are creating content. You have your talking points. You know kind of what you want to speak on and what you want to be known for. And you start getting messages from people on Instagram or on TikTok or wherever it is that you're posting content. And people are saying, I'm really loving this content you're sharing. Thank you so much. This resonated. So the way that you would focus on abundance is by being grateful for those messages. And saying to yourself, okay, I may not have the speaking engagement yet, but I'm already speaking to people. I'm already impacting people. Because remember, when we are clear on what we want, we're focused on what we want and why we want it. And if what you want is speaking engagements and the reason you want it is to make an impact, you're already doing that with your content. Right? So it's like, how can you look for the abundance? Because that's also going to bring more abundance. So if you have been struggling with manifestation and manifesting either opportunities or a partner or clients or community or anything that you've been wanting to manifest and you are struggling, I'm going to review one last time the 5 mistakes. So the first mistake is that you are lacking clarity. So ask yourself, am I really clear about what it is that I want? Number 2 is limiting beliefs and worthiness. Ask yourself, do I feel worthy of this manifestation? What are the beliefs I have about myself that are stopping me from achieving this manifestation? Actually, all of these questions I'm asking right now are journal prompts. So I would recommend that you write these down. Maybe you go back a few seconds so that you can take those first 2 questions down. The third mistake is attachment to the outcome. So here you can ask yourself, am I heavily fixated on how and when this manifestation is going to happen? Am I chasing this manifestation? Number 4 is not taking action. Here I would ask yourself, am I taking action towards this? If so, is it aligned action? Is it relevant? And number 5 is focusing on lack. So ask yourself, when I think of this manifestation, am I focused on what I don't have, or am I doing a good job at focusing on what I do have right now? All right, y'all. This was a very quick little episode all about 5 manifestation mistakes to avoid. Hopefully you found some clarity. Hopefully you took away some points from this episode. If you did, be sure to let me know. Tag me on Instagram. We now have an Instagram page for Chingona Revolution, so you can tag us there. All right, y'all. I will see you in the next episode next week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.